Okay, welcome back. I apologize, it's been so long since my last upload. I got busy. I think I mentioned in the Kicks video, the last one I did after I got the Kevtris repaired, that autumn was my favorite time of year, so I got kind of busy just hanging out and doing stuff during autumn and enjoying the weather. Watching the World Series. But the good news is, here in New England, winters are pretty miserable, so I should have more time to do these playthroughs and upload some more stuff. I still got a whole bunch of cartridges I want to do. I was thinking about doing a kind of a Christmas special. I'll go ahead and spoil it. I was going to do one of the Bible Adventure games. I do have the Bible Adventures cartridge. I think it'd be fun to do that game and talk about it. Try and get it up by Christmas. And also thinking about doing not a speed run, but a quick play of A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo Mini. And also, what I've been really wanting to do for a while is Super Metroid. Again, playing it as quickly as possible. Not a speed run, not taking any shortcuts, but just playing through it as quickly as possible. So those are all things I want to do, hopefully over the next couple months or whatever. But anyway, today it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one, doing this on the NES Kevtris. This was a very popular game. A lot of retro gamers seem to have forgotten that in 1989, Nintendo Power awarded Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 the Game of the Year. It sold well over 1 million copies in the United States. Came out right when, the cartoon was extremely popular. And for the longest time, retro gamers thought that this game aged poorly. But in hindsight, I think it's aged pretty well. The third one, on the NES, the third one is clearly the best. That's probably the best beat-em-up on the NES. Then you have the second one, which was successful at the time. I've already played through it, you can hear all my thoughts on it, but basically I think it's just a little too tedious and repetitive. There's just not enough variety or flavor. The third one is clearly better. And then you have this game, which is an action platformer. It has a few cool elements, like being able to switch turtles at any point, being able to get sub-weapons. There's a lot of interesting stuff to say about this game. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm obviously not going to be beating it, because this is a tough game. You have to practice this game over and over again. I beat this game once, many years ago, probably about I want to say maybe back in 2013 or so. I had a lot more free time on my hands back then. And I must have spent like 2 weeks, like figuring out where all the correct paths and things that you needed to do. Ugh. Get my butt kicked by Bebop. But this is a tough game, and the only way to beat this game is to practice it over and over again. Alright, we're going to use the pizza trick here. Spam the pizza right here. That's kind of, I'd argue that this game was played by many, beaten by few, because if you owned this game back in 1990, 1991, whatever, the only way you were going to beat it is if you just played it over and over again. And that's kind of what we mean when we say Nintendo hard, when you hear a retro game being talked about as being Nintendo hard. These cartridges had very limited data, and you know, take a game like Jaws on the NES. Doesn't take much to master that game. It can be beaten with just a little bit of practice, maybe 1 or 2 days, and then what? There's nothing left to do. You get bored with it. A game like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles you could own, and many did. Play it over and over again and never beat it because it's so tough. There's, like, even with all the practice, if you're good at this game, you can still find yourself at the later levels having extremely bad luck. You can glitch out enemies, though, which is very helpful. Alright, and here we're going to use the famous Donatello trick to beat Rocksteady. Alright, so I think I've talked enough about, you know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and what I want to say basically about this game. I may talk a little bit about the dam level when I get to that. But now I wanted to launch into the rant, so I'm guessing you've looked at the title of this video and noticed that I've deliberately misspelled Jew Wario's name. Jew Wario, the late YouTuber, Justin Carmichael was his name. An OG YouTuber from the early days of YouTube. Switch to Leo here. Was affiliated with the guy with glasses.com, Doug Walker, Nostalgia Critic, and I have to be kind of careful what I say about Justin Carmichael because I'm really doing my best to be choosy with my words here because YouTube seems to not like it. They really don't like when you talk about Jew Wario. Committed suicide in 2014. And it wasn't until 2018 that we kind of got the straight dope on what was happening with Carmichael. It wasn't a mental health issue. It was more that apparently he had gotten into some trouble. There were allegations that were made against him, and I'm not going to discuss the allegations. You know, what I will say about the allegations, one, yes, they are sexual in nature. And they were bad. They were bad enough that he felt kind of trapped in his situation and decided to take his own life. But more to the point, there is a side to the story regarding Carmichael. Obviously, I don't condone what he did, but his side of the story kind of died with him, and I have a feeling that only the people that truly knew him will talk about his side of the story. You really have to dig around on the internet if you want to get a little bit more nuance or facts about the allegations. It is, if you do research it, and I strongly encourage you to, you're going to have to dig to find it, because there's a lot of talk about the allegations, but not a lot of talk about the specifics of the allegations. And I think that the allegations do deserve some context, if that makes any sense. So I strongly encourage you to dig if you're going to, you know, go down the rabbit hole on this one, dig deep and find out all the facts about the allegations, because that is really the only way to look at it. If you're just focusing on what the allegations are, you're missing the plot. Alright, we're gonna switch to Raft, by the way, for the dam level. This is one of the most famous levels in any NES game. Love the music in this level. Sometimes when I'm swimming, I hear this music in my head. And just to put kind of a fine point on it, my pal Andy, the Vintage Gamer, at one point tried to do a video on talking about Carmichael without even going into specifics on the allegations, and YouTube was not happy with it. Something happened to that video. I can't remember, but I do remember it was, it turned out to be kind of a polarizing issue for him. By the way, this level, often talked about as being like super hard. This level isn't hard. It just needs a little bit of practice. Once you know the path, it's not hard at all. But I will stipulate that they really only barely give you enough time to defuse all the bombs. This is one of the most famous scenes in any, or screens in any NES game, is the electric seaweed screen. Ugh. For that reason, it just punishes you. Oops. And not having a great run through this level, I can usually make it through without taking this much damage, but whatever. Getting back to Jew Wario, Justin Carmichael. So, a little bit of a primer on him. OG YouTuber. His videos were, well, let me start a little bit further back. He was a, classically trained, well, maybe not classically, but certainly a trained actor. He definitely had acting chops and charisma. All of his videos, with the exception of some of the stuff that was uploaded to Blip TV on the internet, some of that stuff has been lost forever. Some of it has been preserved, but I think the overwhelming majority of his videos are still available online. They have been preserved for posterity. And you can go back and watch him, and you can see, clearly, this was a guy who was talented, he was charismatic. He had a love of, I mean, today we'd call him a weeaboo, but he had a love of Japanese culture. He was someone that, in the early and mid-90s, was really into anime and manga and all things Japanese, which was pretty niche for the early 1990s. That was, you know, nowadays it's pretty common. Again, we call them weeaboos. Okay, so level 3, what we're going to do is we are going to rack up some missiles and spam. There's a couple of pizzas. Ooh. Let's see. We'll give the triple shurikens to Raph. I love the sub-weapons, by the way. I think it's such a cool touch. So we got shurikens, triple shurikens. What we're missing is the boomerang and the ki. There's a pizza over there. We'll get it on the way back. Really rack up points. I don't know what points gets you in this game. It might get you something. Ugh, I missed it. So cheap that that guy's waiting for you. There we go, that's better. And we'll give it to Rant. And we'll come back and get one for Michelangelo. But we're gonna come back and get... We're going to rack up about 30 missiles. I think you really only need 10. But we're going to get 30. It's a way to get, you know, pizza, heal, and give yourself some breathing room with the missiles. Anyway, so, Jew Wario, so, he was affiliated, I think it was under contract with Channel Awesome or the guy with glasses.com, and he was probably the only person with any talent working on that platform. Doug Walker, honestly, the guy's a hack. His content is terrible. And, you know, just everyone else on that channel, just unbelievably terrible. Allison Pregler, Linkara, you know, none of these people any good at what they do. Not funny. You know, Cinema Snob, Brad Jones. All of them objectively horrible. In fact, do yourself a favor. I'll pin this one in the linked, or excuse me, yeah, I like to pin a link. I'm going to pin 2 links. I'll explain the other one later, but the first link is going to be one of the Nostalgia Critic films, if you can call them that. You know, I'll put Suburban Nights in there, and I encourage you to try and watch it. It is horrible. You can tell everyone in that terrible movie, it just does not belong in front of a camera, with the exception of Carmichael. He is the only one that has any acting skill whatsoever, and he does, by the way. He's from, he did a, how many missiles do I have? I only have 20? I should be good with 20. Just can't waste too many of them. Okay, so first, we are going to go... There, that's what you want to do. You want to break the barricade. You want to destroy the foot tank with a missile and break the barricade. We're going to go in here, though, and rack up some rope. Not sure how many you need, but we're just going to get 2 of them. That should be fine. And I think there's... It's called Key Eye, but it is actually the... a lot of retro gamers call it the scroll weapon. But the instruction manual deliberately refers to it as Key Eye. Ugh. Gonna run into every bulldozer on the way. I won't pin this one. Here we go. A missile that's gonna go through. Oh, it missed. Well, it got 2 of them. And the barricade. I thought it was gonna get all 3 of them, though. But Carmichael was an actor in high school. There's a video online. Again, not gonna pin this one. It shouldn't be too hard to find. But he played the lead in his high school production of The King and I back in 1989. Okay, this is where we want to be. Now here is the first part of the game where you can have bad luck. And the jumps in the sewer... I want that. Let's give it to Mike. Yep, gotta trigger that enemy first. Let's refill Dawn. Okay, that was the tricky part. So we should be okay. Let this guy walk to his doom. And we'll refill Leo. And can we spam the pizza trick here? Yes, we can. Very nice. Spam. Haven't had a chance to really use the boomerangs yet. So getting back to Carmichael, so yes, obviously I do feel badly about his suicide and the allegations. But I also believe, again, that there is another perspective, but moreover that there should be a lesson learned from his mistake. And so here I think is what we can glean from the situation. When Carmichael was making his videos, I can't remember the best way to beat it. Let's try the... Oops. Shuriken is doing okay. Right, so it's obvious that if you've ever been to one of the conventions, even the recent ones, not even just limited to, because Carmichael, you know, much like the other YouTubers that were part of the guywithglasses.com, they were all working the convention scene, and the thing about those conventions is you don't get to choose your fans. I'm sure many would say that, you know, our fans are well-meaning, they're, you know, I'm nothing without them, whatever. But here's the other video I'm going to link, is Doug Walker meeting one of his fans. You don't get to pick your fans, and the persons who are willing to spend money to see in the flesh and hang out with their favorite YouTubers, who happen to find like persons like Nostalgia Critic to be their favorite YouTubers, some of them are very bizarre people, not well mentally adjusted. Okay, I don't need that rope because I already got... There's also one of James Rolfe at a convention meeting one of his fans, and it's pretty weird and awkward as well. That Doug Walker one ought to really open your eyes. It's actually downright terrifying to watch. I highly recommend you check that one out. I have a feeling that Justin Carmichael, who was in his late 30s at the time, and he was hanging out with people who were in their mid-20s or younger, they were all drinking and having a good time at these cons, and he made some really bad choices. I think his first bad choice was going to these cons, working the con scene. It's why I refuse to go to cons myself. I'm not interested in hanging out with these strange sorts of people. Lots of slowdown. Alright, so here's where it gets tough. It's easy to have bad luck. I don't remember the exact paths. Right now, I'm just trying to take as little damage as possible. Lots of flickering, too. Alright, we don't care if we lose Wrath, so we're gonna try not to lose him, but... Okay. Woo. You know, one of the reasons why I chose to go on this rant about Wario, like I said, I do believe that there is a lesson to be learned. And the thing is, with Wario, you know, all that happened back in 2010 and later, I think is a reasonable timeline for when, you know, between 2010 and 2013, I think is a reasonable timeline for when he was working the convention scene and exercising poor judgment. Anyway, so it's been some time, and I was watching the highlights, Film Trek's highlights of the Cinemassacre podcast, which is terrible. Not sure who that's supposed to be for. And I think, so James Rolfe just did, you know, Green Wave, Cinemassacre, James Rolfe, they just did a convention not too long ago where they were, it's the one where his terrible band Rex Viper performed, and at this con, I guess because of, it was like a big return to conventions after, COVID. So, everyone kind of, from what I understand, cut a little loose, and, you know, these are, whether it's James Rolfe, whether it's, you know, Pat, the NES punk, and Ian Ferguson, Metal Jesus Rocks, you know, the story is the same. These are all people that are in their 30, or excuse me, they're all in their 40s or older. They're not in their, you know, these professional man children, they're not in their 20s or 30s. Personally, I think it's time for them to grow up and give up this nonsense of being a professional man-child. But on the podcast, James was talking about, like, you know, how much alcohol they all had, you know, and he was doing this on the podcast with Doug, and I think Brad Jones as his co-hosts on the podcast, and it was just very alarming because, you know, the situation with Jew Wario happened while he was working for theguywithglasses.com Nostalgia Critic. I was shocked. Which way am I supposed to go? I think it's this way. One here. I think it's this one. Okay, yeah, we're almost done with this part. Hopefully we can... Okay, so this part, if you have bad luck, it's game over. And we'll do it with Raph. You have to be very careful, very deliberate. I think I screwed it up. Yeah, I screwed it up. That's annoying. I could go back and rescue him, but whatever, I'm just trying to... Alright, let's see if we can do a little bit better with Mike this time. Lost my boomerang. Ugh. I'll call it the murder wall. Well, I guess since we're well on our way to getting game over, we'll just go ahead and finish off, you know, my point about Jew Wario. You know, the lesson we should have learned is that when you're in your late 30s or whatever, and you're working the convention scene, and you're staying at hotels with weird, awkward fans in their, you You know, everyone else is in their 20s or whatever. The last thing you need to be doing is drinking alcohol and... Ugh, you can't even go up. Drinking alcohol and losing control over things and what may or may not go wrong. Alright, last chance. Just listening to, you know, James and Doug. I can't believe I messed that up 4 times in a row. Yeah, listening to them wax on about how great it was getting drunk and losing control. Especially Doug, who got into trouble for covering, you know, for the mistakes. You know, just so tone deaf. So, anyway, I guess that's all I really wanted to say about it. I really wish... I don't recommend going to those conventions. I certainly think that for these professional man-children, James, Metal Jesus Rocks, Screenwave Crew, you know, Doug Walker, Brad Jones... You know, just give it up, because when you're in your 40s and you're going to conventions and you're drinking, no good can come of it. We've seen what can happen, how badly things can go, so whatever. Anyway, that's all I got for this time, and we'll be back soon. We'll do something really fun.